In the vastness of the demonstration room, the cold light from the screens illuminated the space eerily, reflecting off the shiny metal walls. Nara stood in the center of the room, her large, bright eyes seeming to absorb the light from the surrounding environment. Her long arms, with sharp claws, reached out to operate the complex control panels. She stood there, her hands gliding gently over the touchscreens with the caution of someone familiar with all forms of advanced technology. The soft click-click of her hands tapping against the metal surface echoed in the silent room like whispers from another world. Nara, with her slender figure, broke away from the typical image of a creature from a far-off world. Although she was an alien, her body exuded a sharpness and refinement unlike any other species. Her elongated head, covered in a shiny metallic shell, had sleek contours that reflected the shimmering light in the darkness. Two wide compound eyes, with thousands of tiny sensory receptors, carefully observed every movement in the room. Her legs, delicate yet sturdy, moved gracefully, as though she were navigating a space beyond the comprehension of other beings. Outside the window, the view was of a world unlike anything humans could imagine. Jagged rocks scattered under the faint light of a distant moon, with ultra-complex structures woven with cables and sturdy supports, ready to withstand the forces of nature that constantly challenged them. There were no signs of life, only machines, research tools, and strange sensors still operating in the darkness, affirming the monumental advancement of Nara and her species. As Nara continued preparing for the stealth technology demonstration to the group of humans, her meticulous preparations created a palpable tension in the air. Every part of the lab emitted a mysterious glow, where each movement, each signal from the technology being activated, brought the surrounding space to life. A sense of anticipation hung in the air, like a breath held, waiting for an unpredictable explosion. Every detail in the space seemed to hide behind a layer of mystery. Every faint signal from the screens, every physiological indicator on the control panels, all spoke of preparation for something grand. Behind the blinding lights of modern technology, there was the promise of something miraculous that Nara hoped to present to humanity. But within that stillness, a large question began to form in her mind. Could humans truly understand what she was about to present? Or was there something even more mysterious that would overwhelm them with the technology she thought she had mastered? In the vast expanse of the demonstration room, the cold light from the screens cast an eerie glow, reflecting off the sleek metallic walls. Nara stood at the center, her large, radiant eyes seemingly absorbing the light from the environment. Her long arms, with sharp claws, extended out to manipulate the complex control panels. She moved with grace, her hands gliding gently over the touch screens, the soft click-click sound of her hands tapping on the metal echoing in the stillness like whispers from another world. Nara, with her slender frame, defied the typical image of a creature from an alien world. Despite being an extraterrestrial, her body radiated sharpness and sophistication unlike any other species. Her elongated head, covered in a shiny metallic shell, had sharp contours that reflected the shimmering light in the darkness. Her two large, compound eyes, with thousands of tiny sensory receptors, keenly observed every movement in the room. Her legs, slender but sturdy, moved delicately, as though she was navigating a space beyond the comprehension of other beings. Outside the window, the view was a world unlike anything humans could imagine. Jagged rocks scattered under the faint light of a distant moon, with ultra-complex structures intertwined with cables and sturdy supports, ready to withstand the relentless forces of nature. There were no signs of life, only machines, research tools, and strange sensors still operating in the darkness, showcasing the monumental advancements of Nara and her species. As Nara continued preparing for the stealth technology demonstration for the humans, the intricate setup she had created filled the air with palpable tension. Every part of the lab emitted a mysterious glow, with each movement, each signal from the technology being activated, making the space come alive. A sense of anticipation seemed to hang in the air, like a breath held, waiting for something unpredictable to unfold. Every detail in the space seemed to be cloaked in a veil of mystery. Every faint signal from the screens, every physiological indicator on the control panels, all hinted at something grand waiting to happen. Behind the blinding lights of modern technology was the promise of something miraculous that Nera hoped to share with humanity. Yet, amidst that stillness, a large question began to form in her mind. Could humans truly comprehend what she was about to present? Or was there something even more mysterious waiting to overwhelm them? Something she thought she had mastered? In the dense atmosphere of the laboratory, the tension began to build as Nera activated her cloaking technology, a marvel she and her species had worked tirelessly on for centuries. The spacecraft shimmered and disappeared from sight, as though it had never existed. Nera watched, confident that the humans would be astonished by this technological masterpiece. The screens around her reflected the invisible ship, leaving only faint traces of the surrounding space, like an invisible wave spreading through the air. Every movement she made seemed to occur in a space where even light couldn't penetrate. Her feet moved silently across the cold metal floor, her sharp, emerald eyes never leaving the screens as she awaited their reaction. The humans, however, weren't responding the way she expected. Their expressions were not filled with awe or fear, but curiosity. It was as if the very technology that had taken her people so many years to perfect didn't faze them in the slightest. One man, his rugged face set with a piercing gaze, stepped closer. He pointed to the empty space where the spacecraft had vanished. "We see it," he said, his deep voice calm, yet filled with confidence. "You can hide it from our eyes, but I can still sense it." Nera was taken aback. How could this be? Humans, beings from a relatively primitive world compared to her species, could see through her cloaking device with such ease? It didn't make sense. She had always believed that her technology was infallible. The thought that something as simple as human perception could bypass it was confounding. As she tried to maintain her composure, another man, with sun-kissed skin and short black hair, stepped forward and smirked. "This technology, huh? Really?" he said, his tone mocking. "Seems like we need a few more expeditions to actually find it." The sarcasm in his voice struck Nera like a cold wind. She had never anticipated such a reaction from these humans. She thought they'd be intimidated, awed even, by her people's technological superiority. Instead, they were mocking her, as though her greatest achievement was nothing more than a trivial trick. Then, another human, with blonde hair and bright eyes, turned his gaze toward the now invisible ship, a playful grin spreading across his face. "So we're playing hide and seek, huh?" he laughed. "We see it, but it can't see us." Nera felt a strange pang in her chest. The laughter, the mocking tone, it made her feel as though her very identity, her technology, was being called into question. The cloaking system that she thought was impenetrable was now being reduced to nothing more than a game in the eyes of these humans. How could they perceive what her species had worked so hard to hide? As she continued her presentation, Nera couldn't help but notice how closely the humans were watching her every move. Their curiosity wasn't just about the technology. No, it was as if they were challenging her, trying to uncover the truth hidden beneath the surface. Every glance, every smile, every sarcastic comment made her question everything she thought she knew about this species. They didn't look at her with fear or awe, they saw through her. Nera stood there, bewildered, realizing that these humans were not the fragile beings she had expected. They had an extraordinary ability, one that allowed them to see beyond the capabilities of any technology. A sense of awe mixed with confusion filled her as she wondered how a species so seemingly simple could possess such an extraordinary gift. How could they perceive things that her advanced technology couldn't even conceal? With every passing moment, Nera's understanding of humanity deepened. These humans were not like anything she had ever encountered. They weren't just surviving. They were perceiving, understanding, and adapting in ways she never thought possible. And now, she had to face the greatest question of all. How could a simple species like this understand what even the most advanced technology couldn't reveal? The coldness of the surrounding space seemed to seep into Nera's mind, trapping her in an invisible labyrinth. Everything felt distorted as she began to realize something she had never considered before. Standing in the vastness of the room, her eyes fixated on the screens, where her cloaking technology had failed to hide the presence of humans. All the data, all the calculations, everything was revolving around one question that Nara couldn't answer. Why? Things became blurry in her mind as she realized that her technology couldn't conceal these humans. At first, she had been confident that her system was flawless and undetectable, but the humans saw right through it, as if the technology was nothing more than a transparent layer. They could sense everything her technology tried to hide. Their eyes didn't just look. It was as if every one of their senses was heightened, absorbing signals that her species couldn't even detect. As Nara turned and looked at the humans standing there, she felt a strange shock. One of them, with a sharp gaze and the cold light from the surroundings reflecting off him, pointed to the empty space where her ship had disappeared. "We see it." His voice was calm, without fear or surprise, just a sense of realization. "You can hide it, but we can still see it." Those words hit Nara like a cold wave. She had never considered that humans could possess this ability. How could a species without advanced technology, without sophisticated detection devices, perceive and recognize what she thought was invisible? This truth, heavy and painful, slowly dawned on her. Her theory about the cloaking technology, her belief in its perfection, had shattered completely. As Nara continued to observe the humans, she noticed something strange. Unlike the other species she had encountered, these humans could sense everything that she couldn't. Their eyes didn't just reflect light. It was as if they were attuned to every signal in their environment, so finely tuned that nothing could escape them. One of the humans even chuckled when looking at her technology. "We see it, and you thought we couldn't?" His words were light, but carried an undercurrent of implication. It was as if humans didn't just see what was in front of them. They could sense everything around them without relying on technology. Nara realized that perhaps humans possessed an ability she had never imagined, an ability to perceive beyond all the layers of protection technology could create. A strange weight settled in Nara's chest as she understood that no matter how advanced her species' technology was, it couldn't surpass the capabilities humans held. The cloaking system was nothing but a fragile cover, a tool that could not fool these beings she had once thought to be weak and backward. In that moment, Nara realized that it wasn't the advanced technology that made a species powerful, but rather their ability to perceive and understand the world in a way that surpassed technology. The simplicity of humans, their ability to sense and comprehend beyond the boundaries of technology, made them a force not to be underestimated. The advanced tools she had come to rely on were not the ultimate strength. Instead, it was the human mind and senses that made them formidable. Nara suddenly felt as though her entire worldview was turned upside down. The assumptions of her species' superiority began to fade, replaced by a new truth that humans, with their extraordinary senses, could surpass everything technology could create. Other species in the universe might fear her technology, but humans only needed their heightened senses to defeat it all. The tension in the laboratory grew thicker than ever as Nara continued to operate the controls for the cloaking technology, confident in the superiority of the system she had developed. She had no doubt that this technology would impress the humans. Her spacecraft had completely disappeared from sight, and unless equipped with special devices, no one could detect its presence. However, what bewildered Nara was the humans' reaction. They did not seem startled or awestruck. Instead, they gazed at her with curiosity, as though something so simple was not worth noticing. One of the humans, his face stern and eyes sharp, stepped closer. He pointed at the empty space in front of him where Nara's ship had disappeared. "We see it," he said, his deep voice calm and confident. "You can hide it, but we can still perceive it." The words hit Nara like a jolt. She had never considered the possibility that the humans could possess such an ability. How could a species, seemingly lacking in advanced technology and detection devices, perceive and identify what she thought was undetectable? This truth, heavy and overwhelming, slowly dawned on her. Her theory about cloaking technology, her belief in its perfection, completely shattered. As Nara continued to observe the humans, she noticed something strange. Unlike other species she had encountered, these humans could sense everything that she couldn't. Their eyes didn't merely reflect light. It was as if they were attuned to every signal in their environment, their senses so finely tuned that nothing could escape them. One of the humans even chuckled when looking at her technology. "We see it, and you thought we couldn't?" His words were light, but carried an undercurrent of implication. It was as if humans didn't just see what was in front of them. They could sense everything around them without relying on technology. Nera realized that perhaps humans possessed an ability she had never imagined, an ability to perceive beyond all the layers of protection that technology could create. A strange weight settled in Nera's chest as she understood that no matter how advanced her species' technology was, it couldn't surpass the capabilities the humans held. The cloaking system was nothing but a fragile cover, a tool that could not fool these beings she had once thought weak and backward. In that moment, Nera realized that it wasn't the advanced technology that made a species powerful, but rather their ability to perceive and understand the world in a way that surpassed technology. The simplicity of humans, their ability to sense and comprehend beyond the boundaries of technology, made them a force not to be underestimated. The advanced tools she had come to rely on were not the ultimate strength. Instead, it was the human mind and senses that made them formidable. Nera suddenly felt as though her entire worldview was turned upside down. The assumptions of her species' superiority began to fade, replaced by a new truth that humans, with their extraordinary senses, could surpass everything technology could create. Other species in the universe might fear her technology, but humans only needed their heightened senses to defeat it all. In the vast expanse of space, after the battle with the most advanced technologies, the humans remained unfazed. The silence of the universe now enveloped everything. General Vec's warship, once a formidable force, was now nothing but a wreck, drifting aimlessly among the cosmic debris. Nera's screens still glowed brightly, but the data they displayed made her feel heavy, as if a burden had settled on her heart. Everything had changed in the blink of an eye. She stared at the screen, where the image of Vec's ship gradually faded into the distant, murky space. The numbers, the readings on the cloaking technology that she and her people had spent centuries perfecting, now seemed meaningless in the face of the inexplicable strength of humanity. A wave of emptiness washed over her, mingled with respect. She couldn't stop thinking. "We see you." General Vec's voice crackled through the communication channel, cold and full of disappointment. It wasn't a challenge. It was an admission of helplessness. What had made humanity so powerful? The question lingered in Nera's mind, unanswered. General Vec, after enduring an unbearable sense of shame, realized that his technology was no match for the very creatures he had once dismissed as weak. Cloaking technology, once thought to be flawless, now felt like nothing more than smoke, unable to hide from the keen eyes of humanity. Vec realized that what he had considered the ultimate weapon was rendered useless before humans, beings he had once looked down upon. With heavy eyes, Vec looked around, listening to the alarm sounds aboard his ship, but he could do nothing to change his fate. His final words were those of surrender, not to the war, but to the unchangeable truth. "We see you." It was a bitter statement, a recognition that technology was not the only key to victory. For Nera, those words echoed as a profound reminder of the limits of technology and the wonders humanity could achieve through their natural abilities of perception and intuition. These seemingly fragile beings, living on a perilous planet, could see through the most advanced cloaking technologies. And this led to the unavoidable question: is humanity's true strength not in their technology, but in their natural abilities, the ability to perceive what no device can replicate? The story ends with a lingering question in the cosmic void. Will humanity's unique abilities, perception, resilience, and adaptability, be the key to their survival and dominance in the universe? Or will it be these traits, not technology, that determine their survival in a world where even extraterrestrial beings with superior technology are baffled by humanity's sharp senses? And, as Nera turned back to her colleagues, she began to realize that this journey of discovery was not just about technology. There was so much more to humanity that even she, with all the knowledge of an extraterrestrial being, could not fully understand.